Senate Bill 747. You'll find it on page 1 of your docket summary.
I don't want to do this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Senate Bill 747 has been heard by this committee before. Last year it was Senate Bill 66. It essentially takes what has historically been under Governor's order and King, Executive Order #1, and attempts to codify that. We should codify workplace protections for state employees. Virginia has no workplace protections for its state employees except those embodied in executive orders that have, in the past, protected state employees on the basis of race, color, religion, national origin, sex, pregnancy, age, marital status, veteran status, sexual orientation, or disability. Sexual orientation was removed from even executive order protection on February 5th, 2010. It is now time to make non-discrimination the permanent policy of the Commonwealth and extend it to all in Virginia's state workforce, including GLBT employees. This is especially important in light of questions regarding the ability of the state's colleges and universities to offer this protection to workers and students. Discrimination is wrong. It is a fundamental American value that tax-paying individuals who work hard should not be discriminated against in the workplace because of who they are. The bill enjoys strong public support. Polling over the last several years shows consistently that 90% of Virginians believe that GLBT people should have the right to work in government, and that 85% of Virginians feel that GLBT people should have protections against discrimination in all workplaces. Mr. Chairman, there are a number of individuals here prepared to testify in support of the bill. One individual I met yesterday who was, I think makes a particularly compelling case for the bill is a Bronze Star recipient from the Iraqi War, a West Point graduate of the Kennedy School at Harvard, and that's Captain Woods, and I would like him to read off, please.
Before we get to the witnesses, let's see if there's any questions from the committee to the patron concerning the bill. Any questions to Senator Easton on the bill? I have one. Is this bill in any way different from the bill that this committee has heard that you've been?
It's identical to Senate Bill 66.
So I think the committee is familiar with the subject matter, and we want to certainly hear from those who are lined up, but I just want to set the stage for the testimony. Any other questions to the patron on the bill? Senator Stosh.
Senator McKeachin, I know we've had this topic many times in the past, and I don't know that I've ever known how you reconcile the constitutional prohibition against discrimination with the need for further statutory effort.
First of all, Senator, I'm not quite sure what constitutional prohibition that you're referring to, especially given Justice Scalia's opinion that neither women nor gay people are protected by the 14th Amendment.
Well, I can only paraphrase, but I think our state constitution has an absolute prohibition against discrimination for anyone for essentially any reason.
Senator, I guess in response to that, I would say that it never hurts to have a little insurance. If that is how you interpret our state constitution, I certainly accept that and accept the letter. But it never hurts to have some insurance. And if that is the law, it certainly does not hurt to codify it. It wouldn't be the first time we have mirror images between our constitution and our state laws. And again, I would just remind the Senator that this is just state employees.
All right, thank you very much. Does that complete your questions? Others who would like to ask questions? Senator.
Mr. Hackett, I was just going to ask a question. Senator McKeachin, my understanding is there are some forms of what we call invidious discrimination and other forms of discrimination which frankly are not illegal. What our Constitution, or at least U.S. Constitution, sought to designate invidious discrimination, such as discrimination on the basis of race or religion, and you seek to add sexual orientation to an invidious class of discrimination.
As well as, Mr. Chairman, I would like to this is also
Any further questions to the patron of the bill? Hearing none, we'll hear from witnesses, and maybe before we start, let me try to be gentle and see if we can set just a little bit of ground. I see many individuals wanting to speak. We certainly welcome that opportunity as part of the democratic process. However, we would ask you to, one, try to be brief, And to the degree you can be non-repetitive, if the point's already been made, try to give us a variety of testimony if you can. And with that, Senator McGeechan, I believe you've already introduced your first witness, so sir, if you'd like to come forward. And just ask you to identify yourself, and if you're representing an organization, let us know that. It's a pleasure to have you here with us.
Great, thank you so much, Senator. My name is Anthony Woods, and I'm a resident of Arlington, Virginia, and I'm here on the request of the Senator to speak on behalf of myself and Ms. Woods. I want to start by thanking you for letting me join you today. I really do appreciate it. I also want to thank you for the hard work that you all do in addressing the challenges that face all Virginians across the board. We're in a very tough times right now, and I appreciate your dedication to public service. I'm here today, as I mentioned, as a proud resident of Virginia, to show my support for all legislative efforts to make equality the law of the land in Virginia, regardless if that's in a classroom, in academia, or for those who carry out the business of governing the Commonwealth of Virginia and local government. I'd like to briefly share my experience with inequality in government, in this case in the United States military, because I believe there are some parallels to the challenges that we're considering today. My career in the military began when I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity for West Point in 1999. Graduated from there 4 years later as an officer in the Army, and really had the pleasure of serving in our military. I chose the armor branch because I wanted to serve in a combat arms unit, and I wanted to lead soldiers on tanks in battle. Over the course of 2 deployments to Iraq, I was given the honor of meeting 81 of the best soldiers that our country, I believe, has to offer through some really tough situations during some carrying out and surgery battles in Iraq. I was consistently ranked among the best officers in my unit. I earned the Bronze Star for my service, as the Senator mentioned, and I'm convinced that I'll never be prouder of the day that I brought all 81 of those soldiers home alive. My experience in the battlefield taught me that someone's sexual orientation doesn't matter nearly as much as your ability to accomplish the mission. This principle is just as true in the military as I believe it is in the workplace all across Virginia. If you are committed to showing up every single day dedicated to your team and to giving it your best, I think your race, religion, origin, and your sexual orientation should not matter. I was fired from the military, unfortunately, in December of 2003 because I believe that fighting for and serving your country shouldn't also require you to compromise your integrity. I was honest about my orientation, and my career in the military was ended because of the law known as no match, no tell. Unfortunately, this is also a reality that hardworking residents of Virginia may face if they happen to be gay, and their boss wants to take particular issue with that. I'm not here today to suggest that we need legislation that would require that boss to change their deeply held personal beliefs at all. I don't think that's necessary. I simply am here to say that the deeply held personal views of an individual should not be allowed to adversely affect the well-being of all Virginians. When we fail to include sexual orientation and gender as a category that can't be discriminated against amongst government employees, we run the risk of losing the best and brightest that Virginia has to offer to the private sector or to other states altogether. Given the many challenges we're facing as a country and right here in the Commonwealth of Virginia, it's important that government employees stay focused on doing what is often difficult work without the distraction caused by fear of losing their jobs because of who they are. I believe that both the Governor and the Attorney General were right to point out that the legislature is the body most capable of definitively deciding on this issue for Virginia. And so it's for this reason that I urge all of you to support efforts that promote equality for all Virginians through the legislation being considered today and legislation that will surely come in the months ahead. I want to thank you again for your work that you do each and every day on behalf of all of us, and I want to thank you for allowing me to share my thoughts with you today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your testimony. Yes, would you come forward and please identify yourself?
My name is Lisa Furr. I'm a state employee. I work at VCU, and I'm in Senator Stosh's district. I'm also a lesbian who's been in a 20-year relationship. I've been active in my church congregation for 12 years. And as a state employee, the thing I would like to ask is that what this bill can do is that we can allow me and other state employees to do our job and not to worry about persecution in the state employee jurisdictions. I've got half a dozen couples that I know that have left the state and taken their substantial salaries with them. And this kind of legislation can stop that flood of people, good trained state employees who can stay here in Virginia and make us eligible for excellent workers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, please come forward and identify yourself.
Hi, I'm Rabbi Jesse Gall. I'm here with the people of Faith for Equality in Virginia and Congregation Beth Ahava. Our Bible begins in the book of Genesis teaching us that God created all human beings in the divine image. This means that each person is inherently has a holy essence, which is to be respected and nurtured. Today, we are before you asking to take away labels of making people other outsiders and unwanted. May we continue to fight for injustices, keeping Amos's tradition alive, letting justice well up as waters and righteousness as mighty streams. And let us make sure we see the holiness in all people and treat all people with equality. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. Yes, please come forward and identify yourself.
First, let me apologize, I'm coming over from bronchitis. My name is Scott Parrish Johnson. I am a Virginian, born and bred. My family immigrated to Virginia by way of Jamestown many generations ago from Scotland. I was raised to love Virginia, the land, and the water. I'm a Christian, raised with Christian principles, taught to follow Christ's teachings, to treat others as you wish to be treated, to serve people and to make a difference in the lives of others. I was a summer missionary while an undergrad working with people throughout Virginia. I'm a public servant and a VRS member with 15 years of public service. I've been able to combine my love of the Commonwealth with my desire to make a difference and to serve others. I'm also a gay man, and sadly, by taking my personal time to come speak with you today on this issue publicly and out myself, I'm jeopardizing my public career. It shouldn't be this way. The fact that I'm gay should in no way affect my ability and desire to continue to serve the people of Virginia. Therefore, I please urge that you pass this forward.
Thank you for your testimony. Yes, please come forward and identify yourself.
I'm James Parrish, Executive Director of Equality Virginia, and we're here today to say we support this bill and the people as well.
Thank you. Yes, please come forward.
Chairman, members of the committee, good afternoon. My
You
name
may
is...
want to, let me interrupt, you may need to raise that mic so you're a little bit taller than some of those first folks we heard on that first bill. There you go.
Is that better?
That's good.
All right, gentlemen. My name is Drew Yamiko. I am appearing before you on behalf of the Log Cabin Republicans of Virginia, and I am in 17th Angels District. I will keep my statements brief. I'd like to share with you very briefly some polling data. Two bipartisan statewide polls in 2005 and 2007 showed overwhelming support by Virginia voters for protection against anti-gay workplace discrimination, especially in the public sector. When broken out by party, 80% of Republican voters supported workplace anti-discrimination laws, and 88% of Republican voters supported the right of gay and lesbian people to work for the government. The Democratic percentages were, as you can imagine, even higher. On behalf of the Log Cabin Republicans of Virginia, I urge you to support the adoption of these equal employment opportunities. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Come forward, please identify yourself.
Robert Jones of the Virginia Education Association, our legislative committee took a unanimous position in support of this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Ben Greenberg of Virginia Organizing. Non-discrimination is a core principle of our organization, and as a former state employee myself, I urge you to support this legislation.
Thank you. Please come forward.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Richard Hatch. I'm the president of the Central Virginia Central Labor Council and the vice president on the Virginia AFL-CIO Executive Board. We're here today because we fight for many state workers who are impacted by this. We represent them in all areas of state government, and we strongly urge the support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Come forward.
Yes, my name is Brian Turner. I'm here in representation of the Virginia Conference of the American Association of University Professors, and we support this bill.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Ron Jordan, representing the Virginia Governmental Employees Association. Our association is opposed to workplace discrimination in any form.
Others in the audience who would like to be heard in support of the bill? Hearing none, let me thank those for being brief and concise. Now, for those who are in opposition to the bill, please come forward, and likewise, if you would identify yourself, if you're representing an organization, please let us know that.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Chris Friend of the Family Foundation. I'm not going to take a lot of your time. We're just in opposition to this bill. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Yes, please come forward.
Eddie Ayler, Virginia, Assembly of Independent Baptists, we're also opposed to this bill. We are not for discrimination.